Alright, so this is going to be a short-ish lesson about topic 6.4, which is brackets and factors, although the topic also includes expansion. So we're going to start with expansion first, but this is covering stuff that's mentioned in topic 6.4 of the IGCSE Core Maths. What I want to start with first is some definitions. Some of these you should know already. So over here, if you hear me use the word variable, I'm talking about stuff like x, y, z, a, or theta, which you may or may not know already. That's usually the variable we use for angles in trigonometry. We are also going to be talking about binomials, so that's anything like a plus b inside brackets, or in the US we would call them parentheses, so you may hear me say that on accident. So a plus b inside brackets, 2 plus y, x minus y. If you hear me say the phrase or word terms, what I'm talking about are the things inside the brackets. So in this case, our binomial is q plus r, but the terms are q and r. Now, if you see something like 2x or 3a, those would be terms. So 2x would be a term, and 3a would be a term within the binomial. And then finally, we're going to talk about FOIL, which is a method we use to solve problems where we have to multiply two binomials together. And it is the abbreviation for first, outer, inner, last, which I'll explain in more detail later, but I have a nice little drawing I've done for you guys here. The arrows may confuse you, don't worry. Hopefully it'll become more clear after I've actually explained it. So all we're going to do is we're going to do 4 examples in kind of increasing difficulty. So they're going to get harder going this way. More difficult. That's not how you spell harder. There you go. Alright, so we're going to start with this first one, 5 times 2x plus 1. And I'm going to write out in a little bit too much detail how this works. And it's not how you would probably want to do it on an actual exam. You don't need to show as much as what I'm going to show. So here we've got our 5 times 2x minus 1. Alright, so all we're going to do is we're going to take the 5 and we're going to multiply it by, we're going to multiply both of the terms in the binomial by 5. So that means we're going to do 5 times 2x, and then since this is a plus 1, we're going to do plus 5 times 1. So if I were to write this out mathematically, I would start with 5 times 2x plus 1. I would do 5 times 2x, and this is where I'm writing it out in too much detail, so 5 times 2x, and then I would do 5 times 1. And since this is a positive number, we're going to add that, so plus 5 times 1. Now, we're not quite done here. We should simplify this. And if you were on an exam, you would probably just go straight from this to what I'm about to write over here. 5 times 2x, well, 5 times 2 is 10. That gives us 10 x's. Plus 5 times 1. Hopefully you know that one. That's just going to be 5. So on an exam, you would just go from this straight to this. This stuff here is just extra. Hopefully make it clear. Alright, so when you have done all of this right here, your answer, that means we have expanded this problem right here. So we've expanded it. Alright, so that's a fairly straightforward one. In this case, we had a number times a binomial. Alright, so now we're going to do one where we've got a variable times a binomial. Alright, and when you first see this, if you don't know this already, it might look kind of scary. It's like, oh my god, we've got y times 4y. What is that? Is that 5y's? Is it 6y's? What is it? Well, don't let this scare you too much. Think about if you have x times x. Hopefully you know that's going to be x squared. So if we've got y times y, that's going to give us y squared. Alright, so when we're expanding this problem here, what we're just going to look at is y times 4y plus 7. We're just going to do y times 4y, so that's actually just 4y squared, right, based on this idea here. And then we're going to do y times 7, which is super simple. What's y times 7? Well, that means we have 7y's, so 7y. Now, the way you would write this out in reality, I'm going to erase my notes here. We do y times 4y, so that's going to be equal to 4y squared. Again, I've started out with some easy problems here. So we've got a positive number, y times 7. That means we're going to add 7y. And we are done. We have successfully expanded another problem. Alright, so this has been expanded. Alright, so now we've got these last two, which are the more difficult ones. So these here, what we do is we use this method called the FOIL method. And I'll give you a moment to look at this in case the arrows help you. We use this method when we have two binomials that we need to multiply together. Alright, so let's go down here. We'll do the first example. I have written down my colors here so that I don't forget what they are. Now, I'm not going to use all of the arrows and stuff that I just showed you in that picture above, but I am going to rewrite this equation with the colors. And we're going to have multiple colors for each term in our binomial. So hopefully this works and it's not super confusing. I'm going to write out my brackets first. Again, you would not do this on an exam. This is just for my explanation. And then we've got a plus and a minus. Watch out for this. Because that's going to change our sign. And sign errors are very, very easy to make mistakes. Alright, so we're going to look at the terms that come first. So the firsts are going to be this and this. So x. So I'm going to do x in green and x in green. And actually I'm going to make these kind of thick, we'll see why later. Alright, so the first thing is we would multiply x times x, which is going to be x squared. Then we multiply the outers together. So the outers are going to be the ones on the outside. So we've got x again. This is why I did this kind of thick. So x, in this case, is an outer. But then we've got 1 as an outer. Alright, and then our inners, that's going to be the ones on the inside. So in this case, 2. And x is on the inside, right? See right here how these are on the inside of the polynomials? They're squished together. So x here, our second x, in this, or the first x in the second binomial, is an inner. finally, we would multiply together our lasts. You know what, let me add some colors in here. So foil, we got green, purple, yellow. These are our inners. Alright, and then now we are doing our lasts. So that's going to be this one and this one. So 2 and 1. So 2 is a last and 1 is a last. Alright, so hopefully you kind of saw the pattern that I went through. If that doesn't work, I will give you the full screen of all my notes later. That's not supposed to be there. I'll get the keyboard out. There we go. Hopefully that's a different way of thinking about it if the arrow is confusing. Anyway, let's go back here. So what do all these crazy colors and lines actually mean? So what I was saying, but not writing down, is first we look at the firsts, so the green ones. We've got x times x. So that's x squared. Alright, and then we look at the outers. So we've got x and negative 1. So I'm going to write this a little bit more complicated than I need to. So I'm going to say we are adding x times negative 1. Which you should probably already be thinking, well, that's just minus x. But anyway, I'm writing it this way. Then we move on to the inners. Alright, so that's the two yellow ones here. So 2 times x, no negatives. That's nice and easy. So we've got plus 2x. And then we've got our lasts. And before I switch colors, I'm looking at this and I've got 2 times negative 1. So actually, I know eventually this is going to switch to a negative sign. But I'm going to write it like this just to be super clear and probably give you too much of an explanation. So we've got 2 times negative 1. Alright, so this is our first. This is our outer. This is our inner. And this is our last. So foil. Now we can simplify this further. So I'm going to write this all in the same color because eventually we're just going to get to the point where the colors don't really matter. So we've got x squared, that's fine, plus x minus 1. This is super complicated. What's x times negative 1? That's just negative x. So I'm just going to write negative x. Plus 2x, easy enough. You should be thinking, but wait, teacher, we'll get there. And then the last one, plus 2 times negative 1. Again, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So I'm going to replace it with minus 2. Alright, and we can simplify this further because we've got 2x terms here. Alright, so I'm going to simplify this further. We got x squared, so negative x plus 2x. Or think of this like 2x minus x. So we have 2x is minus 1x. That's actually just 1x. Right? So we've got plus x. So x squared plus x minus 2. And we're done. So on an exam, probably what you would do is you would not write out this is too much, but you would probably write down this part here and say it's equal to this, and then finally that it's equal to this. So just to be super clear, I'm going to write this out as x plus 2 times x minus 1 is equal to x squared plus x minus 2. And in this case, we have expanded our binomials using the FOIL method. So expanded expanded using FOIL. Alright, we'll do one more. This time we're doing 2x minus 3 times x plus 4. When I say these, you kind of have to listen to the pauses. So I said 2x minus 3, and then a long pause, and then times x plus 4. Otherwise, you might think it's just 2x minus 3 times x plus 4 or something, but that's not what I'm trying to say. This is why we have to write it out. Anyway, you might be a little bit scared by this, but don't be. It's pretty much the same deal as this example right here, where we had the variable times a binomial. We are going to use FOIL again, but I am not going to write out everything with all the fancy colors that I used earlier, because we're getting close to the 20-minute mark on this lesson. So I'm going to do it mostly how I would do it on an actual exam, and how you should probably do it on an actual exam. So we're going to start out with 2x minus 3 times x plus 4. You hear that pause there? And we're just going to do 2x times x. Alright, so that's going to give us 2x squared. And then, so that was the firsts. And then we're going to do the outers. Alright, so 2x times 4x, well, 2 times 4 is 8. These are both positive. So I'm going to write this down as plus 8x. So, right, we did first, we did outer, now we need to do the inners. This is where you need to be careful. Right here, negative sign, careful. Danger. So we've got negative 3 times x. That's going to be minus 3x. Note how I didn't write plus negative 3 times x in this case. We're skipping that because it wastes time to write that down. Finally, we need to do our lasts, so that's going to be negative 3 again, be careful, times 4. So negative 3 times 4 is going to be negative 12. There's our FOIL. We can simplify this further because these are both x's. We can't do anything with this one here because this is x squared. These two are x's. This means we have 8 x's and 3 x's, and we need to take 3 x's away. We can't take 3 x's away from x squared because x squared is an entirely different thing. Alright, so let's simplify it. We've got 2x squared. 8 minus 3 is 5, so plus 5x minus 12, and we're done. So again, we have expanded all of this using FOIL. Alright, and we're done with this lesson. I am going to leave you with a zoomed out version of my notes. Hopefully they'll all kind of fit. A little bit more camera. And that's it. I'm going to leave you with that. So we went through the definitions. Some of those you should know already. We talked about FOIL, and now you should be able to expand any question that is similar to these 4 examples that I gave.